We have a period for discussion and question. And all of the projects of all those projects was like 6,069,385. The reason I passed out a revised sheet, which has revised in the top right corner, is late this afternoon, our IT director, Ted Luter, met with me, and Ted explained that he wanted to withdraw his request for the firewall for $100,000 because he and the network manager have been working on going back and forth negotiations with a vendor, and they were able to secure a multi-year maintenance agreement with a firewall upgrade, and the vendor was willing to reduce the price substantially, and they were not expecting that. So good news for the town, and also good news that he told me and I wanted to make sure he wasn't shortchanging himself, but he said he wanted to withdraw this request. And so you can see that on this revised sheet, all of the projects total $5,969,385. So I just wanted to open it up for discussion from the committee, and basically here the three projects that are not funded would be the first one, the firewall upgrade, that's been withdrawn, the CCA project, and then the 10-wheel dump truck for the Public Works Department. And if, open it up to the committee. Sure. Yep.
Will he need any money?
No, he said, I asked him that, and he said he'd be able to do it within his operating budget. I guess the vendor made some significant concessions just going back, negotiating with them, and they were not expecting the vendor, I guess because it's year end, calendar year end, they were willing to make some, good concessions on it. So I was not expecting that, and nor was he, but he said that he could do it within his operating budget. So, yeah, that was. So, if any committee members want to discuss, I know I had a couple of questions on the number 16, for public facilities, the ADA for parks, playgrounds, and open space for $150,000. And I think just to summarize, then I'll open up for discussion. I think one member asked if it was eligible for community preservation funding. I did check with Christine. She said it may be based on the nature of the project, but some projects would, for example, maybe constructing a path in a way that would be ADA accessible. If it was a maintenance type of item, probably not, but and then I also received a comment and some questions from a member regarding the state has a grant program for ADA accessibility for public facilities. It is competitive. The grant actually has already been awarded for fiscal year 25, if I'm not mistaken, but you'd have to reapply in the next year. So that was just some of the questions I received, but I'll kick it open for discussion if members want to comment on any of the projects. And
is that 5.9 too much? Do we need to cut something out? Or is that a doable number?
I think it's pretty close to being a doable number. And I went back and looked in last year's projects, just by way of people may ask, all of the projects totaled up to 5.88 million. They were just over, it was like 5,883,000. If a majority of members feel strongly about reducing it another 50,000 to try to be just over that, but I think where we borrow for some of these projects, it's doable. Because you're only talking
the project for 10 or 15 years.
Right.
So
Right.
you can knock off $50,000. You're knocking off 5,000.
Right.
Debt service. It's a noise. And I also think it's appropriate that as the town's budget grows, that capital, which is a real cost, should not, should at least, it's not unreasonable to align or increase as well, as opposed to being totally static. Because it's just not realistic of what the inflation is out there. Here's Christina. So, yeah, I think, as I said to John earlier in the day, I think any number of, 6 or less is acceptable.
Yeah.
Because I think it's given the totality of everything we're at right now, especially where last year was 5.88.
Yeah, optically being under 6 million feels.
Yeah, 6 or less, I think it's fine, yeah.
And that being the case, we don't really have anything we need
Yeah.
to.
Right, John, there's one thing I'd like to point out is that this year being my third year, and I definitely appreciated the priorities that all the heads that had to come to this committee really made sure that they were asking, knowing the situation we're in, what was necessary, what to prioritize, and Christine's feedback about, the 10-wheel can wait a little bit. That was my concern because all the work you're doing on the roads, I was thinking that couldn't have been, sacrificed. So I was at a conundrum, where to take money off. So I appreciate that, being the case. But the other thing is, I think when I look at these rounded up numbers, I would hope that, and I love what Ted can say about saving the money on the firewall. And I know everybody in this room, these department heads are gonna do their best job at trying to get best costs and best pricing for these projects. So I feel really good about this, and I appreciate that. I just wanted to say that.
No, thank you, Joe. A lot of members commented on, I think, to mention 2 department heads. So I would say DPW Director Clancy and Superintendent Lang have the most projects, so it's really important from the committee, we rely on your expertise to tell us which is the highest priority, because some years, like you're saying, we can't fund everything, and so it's really important to have your priority rankings on these projects. A number of members commented to me on that. If anybody else has any discussion, you're more than welcome, all welcome. So just to recap, so with all of the projects, with the firewall being withdrawn, the CCA item not funded, and the 10-wheel dump truck not funded, we're at a total of $5,969,385. When you deduct the recaptured funds of just over $27,000, you're at $5,941,971. So if members are comfortable with that, I would entertain a motion to approve if anyone wants to discuss projects any further.
My one comment is less about the amounts. On the ADA improvements, for projects that are ongoing and have an annual amount, it would be good to, at least next year, see a plan for what is getting done when. I think you guys are working on that.
Yes, so so our paving program, every year we do submit it, but we also have a list that kind of accompanies that. So our plan is to, because honestly, the $150,000 was really just a gut feeling. That could probably be a lot, it could have been less, it could have been also been more. I think with the $150,000, we would have enough to do some, I don't want to quote the amount, but the amount that we have here. So we will, $150,000. So we will develop that list, and that's what we were just talking about with Steve Callahan. This winter's a good opportunity. I know we're in the process of finalizing that OSRP plan update, and so we're going to start to look to see what we want to do this year, and then also make a short-term list, I guess, and start pricing that out. So that would be the plan, similar to the paving and sidewalk plan, is to come with a list of, this is what we're looking at now, and hopefully what we're looking at in coming years too, but at least focus on the next couple of years.
Good, excellent, thanks.
I'll make a motion to approve the capital planning budget in the amount of $5,969,385.
Motion by David Braslow. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Dennis King. All those in favor of the motion to adopt the capital plan at that level, please say aye. All those opposed?
All right.
You and I,
Yeah,
yep, okay.
Because we haven't discussed.
Oh.
We have not discussed not doing the dump truck, okay? And I'd like to at least hear one more time why we don't need it. And then I'd like to discuss why we couldn't maybe fit it in and reduce some of the cost on some of the other projects without canceling them. Because we're so close to hitting the home run, we're only taking one item that we're not approving. So, but again, you've already voted me for the one, you've already approved it, so I guess we're done.
Yeah, I mean, the motion carries, but we can definitely discuss it. I can speak from myself and then open up to committee members. For the dump truck, it was a tough decision. A couple members emailed me and they asked me to email Director Clancy. She indicated that the pickup trucks were in much worse condition, so those were a definite need. I struggled with some of it. I know the town office restrooms has been on the plan for several years. It's been deferred a number of times. And, people may have other reasons. I tried to prioritize everything that I thought was a must-do. I didn't see anything in the schools that was iffy, that it all seemed like it was high-priority items. And it was very difficult to not exceed 6 million. Putting the dump truck in, a couple other projects would have to drop out. So that's my take, but I'll open it up to other members. And
I mean, that was my thought process too, because I know that you had prioritized the dump truck as pretty high. But one of the feedback that I wanted to get from you was if we had to choose between the dump truck and I think the two pickup trucks and maybe something else, what would the trade-off be? And the response was the dump truck can wait. And that's kind of what I read in the description too, that it was starting to rust, but not really that bad yet. Whereas the dump trucks or the pickup trucks were a lot more advanced in the rust. So that's how I weighed those two. And because it was such a big ticket item, a lot of the other areas that might be questionable, like the ADA, could potentially stay in because we were able to get rid of that one big unit. So that was my thought process, that I want to fund as much as we can. And by removing the dump truck, and then since we weren't doing the flooring, and then my only concern was that if we were still funding the firewall upgrade, that we might need to take something else out. But since the firewall upgrade is removed, it's close enough for me to be comfortable funding everything.
Well, I guess I come at it, everybody most of the people in the room kind of come from a particular function and put anything in priority. I come at it from strictly finance point of view. And I look at all the projects, and I wouldn't care if 9 were in one group and were not in the other group, if in fact the priority was such that I thought the need was greater there, okay? If we put the dump truck off till next year, will it be the first item that you ask for next year?
So the dump truck that we currently have still functions. I guess one concern when I responded was because when we order a dump truck, it is going to take us 18 months to 2 years to get that. So there was hesitation in my response, but I think when you look at the two needs, the two pickup trucks, they are at a point where further rot, they might not pass inspection, and then we're down 2 vehicles. And also those 2 vehicles, when we do replace them, we are upsizing them so that we can put a plow on it. And we're down every year, we're down pieces of equipment. And so it is very valuable to us to have 2, basically that will cover 2 plow routes. We can cover 2 plow routes. Obviously a dump truck does, can clear more. but 2 plow trucks to us is very valuable. So that value is greater, outweighs, I guess, the need of the sander. I would say that dump truck will be a high priority. We also have our sidewalk machines that I almost put 2 of those in for this year, just knowing our needs. I was trying to spread them out. So I do see the sidewalk machine potentially being a high priority next year. And likely the dump body. I guess I don't know.
And you got a
exactly.
sander next year, too.
Sander too, yeah, we could, well, I guess we'll have to relook next year, but right now I see our highest, the sidewalk machine, which is, we're very fortunate that that will be, that looks like it's on top on the list or towards the top of our requests. But the 2 plow trucks, because adding those plows would really, that, and I did talk with our highway superintendent and he agreed. He's like, we need, like, if anyone says, what do we need right now? You know, we don't know what type of winter we're going to have. We're down every year, plows. I am going to put together a look back at the past 10 years, because if it's every year a couple pieces, that's just a couple pieces. But when you look back 8-10 years ago, we're probably down 25-30%, I would say, at least, without like running, and I am gonna run the numbers. So that's what, so I guess it's yes, but we have so many priorities and we will have to reevaluate it next year.
Okay?
Christine, I'm just curious, what's the lead time on a pickup truck with plow?
So, it depends on what's available in stock. And so we are, right now, some items are available, but we can't make the purchase until July. So what we're hearing is these can be available in the next few months, but then like, well, we can't tell you what's available in July. So it's hard to understand what the lead time will be in July. But I hope that, you know, come July, we can purchase them and have them before the winter, or hopefully even that summer. Historically, we have been able to get them within a few months or even sooner. So it's just, we're being told that
Right.
who knows what the market's gonna bring, who knows, you know, what the state is, so. But we do know that the lead time on the dump truck is at least, it could be more than 2 years, so.
I'm just wondering if town meeting approves the, say, the dump trucks, not the dump trucks, the pickup trucks in April. I know, you know, technically it's approved, the money might not be available until July 1st.
You can put the order
Can you
in.
at least get the order going, just to get ahead of the
Yes,
crew
yeah.
before everyone else?
So April, we would be able to do that. It's just right now, because we were approached by some of the dealerships we do work with that are on the state bid list, and we said we can't do anything right now.
Right,
But yeah, so as soon as we can, we will.
because there could be other districts that are actually waiting until July to kind of put their orders in, but if you at least can jump them by a couple of months, you'd likely have a truck by next plow season. Okay.
My last question would simply be, we're all comfortable that each item, the cost estimate is correct and there's no room to reduce it at all? To each stakeholder, I just asked the question, you know?
My concern, Dave, and I want to say it because I don't want to hear it the next time it comes. The big unknown is the library HVAC, okay? And we don't know, but, so my concern is not that we can cut it down, is that it may not be sufficient given the complexity of that building. And so I just want to say it so that
Well,
we
you
come
should
back.
say it.
No, we come back. And I think it was said when we did the presentation by Christine and David as well. And David knows the system better than I do because he's been involved with it, you know, physically in terms of that. And to me, that's the wild card. But I don't think reducing that number would be of any benefit because I think if anything, our risk is more the other way. And we just won't know. And then the bigger concern, and Christine spoke of this about HVAC, is and Pat Maloney noted it at our meeting last Monday night. Right now, it's hard to get HVAC work completed. And that's, to me, that makes it uncertain in terms of the cost of that. So part of it is the uncertainty of the project. The other part is the uncertainty of the market. And those are things that we just, you know, we'll have to confront because we can't put it off. It's, you know, because if that system goes down, you know, that's the other risk that we have is if it goes down, then that, you know, you've got materials in that building that don't deal with high humidity.
From my perspective, I think that some of these may end up going down, but I don't think it's going to be a significant amount. Given the amount of recaptured funds we see every year, I don't expect it to be that significant. So I think from my experience on this board, the estimates that we're getting from department heads are fairly accurate on the whole.
Okay.
Yeah, I think to add to that, Chris, oftentimes the challenge is trying to complete a project within the budget, right? Which might mean altering the scope a little bit, right? To make it fit the budget so that you don't run over rather than asking for additional funds. So that's potentially the other partial solution.
I want to say, from my perspective, just doing this for a number of years, this year, the library requests were much higher than usual, but I can say that the parking lot had been in the pipeline and had been deferred for many years. So I know the library folks were very patiently, that's been going on. The computer replacements are just a cyclical thing. It happens every so many years. They have to be replaced. And the HVAC project that you just mentioned, I think that has to go forward for the good of the library. So what you were saying, to me, it doesn't matter either whether some years, if we're replacing a major piece of fire apparatus, that can be $1 million. In this capital plan, the library is receiving a larger amount than it has in other years, but I think it's based on the need of the projects and from my perspective. Other members are welcome to make.
Well, thank you all for putting up with my questions.
No, that's good.
Good question.
Yeah.
So are we in concern? Because that's what I hear about HVAC as well, but I know we had to wait for McKay and some of the other projects
Yeah.
that were in town, but I don't know, what's the latest view on our projects here in town though?
I mean, we do still have a backlog of projects we're working through. We have ARPA. We recently did bid a project, TAB, testing and balancing, and we didn't receive any bids. And it's like just because the market, they're so busy, so they're just not going after that work. We're trying to figure out how we can accommodate that work. We also just opened other bids for electrical, and even with consultant cost estimates, they were significantly under. So like, it's hard to read the market. So I guess in that aspect, we were significantly under what we had thought and what the consultant thought, but then it's a nice story or you can just, then it's easier we can always turn money back or allocate to that's ARPA, so that could be allocated to a different project. So I think what Manager Cohen was saying is that the market's still so volatile, and it's like who's bidding it? Do they want to bid it? The industry it's really hard to predict. So I guess in a month, we went from not receiving one bid to receiving many bids, and they were significantly under. So it's hard for us to understand. And this is with also us getting cost estimates from the designers. We're paying consultants that do this every day for cost estimates, and we're still seeing fluctuations, or in that case with the TAB, the unavailability of the of people that want to bid it. So it's hard to, with that, it's so,
Right.
with the market being so volatile, I think having conservative numbers are in our favor, and then things might go up, but things, I guess if we're under budget, then that's a much easier story.
The other thing that I think has changed, and has probably changed permanently, is before COVID, the manufacturers would make equipment and inventory it in anticipation of the demand. And the HVAC manufacturers are not doing that anymore.
No.
They're not inventorying equipment, they're making it only after they receive the orders. So that's increasing the cost because it's pushing out the manufacturing of the equipment, and it's also delaying, right, the ability to receive the equipment. What
Yeah, the
was it,
lead
40
times.
40-something weeks is.
Sometimes a year,
Yeah, is not at all atypical from the time you place an order to the time the equipment is actually available.
No, and the same with the vehicles. That's the thing, is
Yeah.
the electrical components that go in the vehicles or even mechanical components that's why those trucks are taking sometimes multiple years.
Any of the members want to make any comments or questions? No, not seeing anyone. We have a public comment period, but I don't see any members of the public. If you would like to make comments. Okay. If not, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I
move to adjourn.
Motion by Chris, second.
I second.
Second by Joe. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.